It's a pretty safe assumption that by now you have heard of the Convention of States Project. After all, you're listening to this podcast. But in today's episode, I'm going to ask you the most important question I can ask you, and that is the Convention of States Project. What are you going to do about it? This is the Free to Be Free podcast, encouraging you to assert your liberty because you are free to be free. The Convention of States Project. What are you going to do about it? That's the question that we pose today. Now, you may believe in freedom, self-governance, limited government, or that you should be the ultimate decider in your life for what's right for you, but none of that matters unless you're willing to do something about it. After all, what you believe is not what you believe. What you do is what you believe. And your action is so critical to the success of the Convention of States Project. And as we go through, I imagine you'll be very surprised at how some of the most significant things that you can do to support the Convention of States Project are actually some things that take very little effort. So I'm going to start with some of those things which take very little effort, and they're more transactional than anything else, kind of a one and done thing. You need to do it once. It just takes a minute or two and you're done. So let's start with the most impactful thing that you can do is to simply sign the Convention of States petition. And you can do this at the Convention of States website, and I'll provide a link to that in the show notes. So let's talk a little bit about this petition and what really happens when you sign it. So when you sign the petition, it's important that you include your address because you're going to be classified by your state legislative district, and we're going to aggregate those applications by state legislators. And what will happen is a copy of the petition will be sent to your state representative and your state senator. Unless, of course, you live in Nebraska, we'll just send it to your state senator. So here's what is going to be sent to your state legislators. A petition that simply says, and I'm quoting, "Almost everyone knows that our federal government is on a dangerous course. The unsustainable debt combined with crushing regulations on states and business is a recipe for disaster. What is less known is that the founders gave state legislators the power to act as the final check of abuse of power by Washington. Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution authorizes the state legislatures to call a convention for proposing needed amendments to the Constitution. Citizens for Self-Governance has launched the Convention of States Project to call an Article 5 convention to propose only amendments that would impose fiscal restraints on the federal government, limit its power and jurisdiction, and impose term limits on its officials and members of Congress. I support this approach. I want our state to be one of the necessary 34 states to pass a resolution calling for this kind of Article 5 convention. You can find a copy of the model resolution in the handbook for legislators, and it gives a web address. And then it simply asks you to ask your legislator to support the Convention of States Project. That's a pretty innocuous petition. You're not signing up to do anything. You're just letting your state legislators know that you support the Convention of States Project. Now that is the petition, the wording of the petition for states that have not yet passed the Convention of States resolution. We have an alternate position for the petition for the states that have signed the resolution, and it simply acknowledges that the state has signed it and that you're pleased to know that, and tells your legislators, if they're one who supported it, thank you for supporting it. If not, it will ask the legislator to reconsider and again point them to some information so they can learn more about the Convention of States project. So let me explain to you the power of your signature on that petition. Now, to date, nationally, we've had 683,970 petition signers. Now, that may sound like a lot, and I don't want you to think that your petition will get lost in that sea of hundreds of thousands of petitions, because the petitions are actually aggregated at your state legislative district level. So you're not going to be one of over 600,000 petition signers. You're going to be one of 100 or 200 or so petition signers in your legislative district that's going to go to your state legislator and your state senator, and they're going to be aggregated at that level. And the volunteers with Convention of States projects then have the ability to take a list of all the petition signers for a given legislative district and present that to the state legislator. And 100 or two petition signers is very significant. And that's where the power in your signature is that it's at the local level. It's not just aggregated among the national petitions. So I can't stress enough how much you're taking really less than a minute to go to the website and sign the petition is one of the most powerful things that you can do to advance the Convention of States project. Another thing that you can do, which takes very little time, it's another transactional activity, is to simply like the Convention of States Facebook page. And that's easy to find. It's on facebook.com/Convention of States. And again, there's a link for this in the show notes. Currently, we have over 1.5 million Facebook likes, and that's a great way to spread the word. If you simply like our Facebook page, of course, your friends will notice it. And what will also happen is you'll automatically get some information anytime we do updates to that page on tracking the progress of the Convention of States project. You can do the same on Twitter. We're at COS Project on Twitter, and you can follow us there, again, to keep up with the movement. This, again, is something that is very simple to do, but it can have a great impact. Now, it's of course no surprise to anybody that in order to advance any kind of movement like the Convention of States, we need money to do that. So donating to the Citizens for Self-Governance is a great way to help advance the cause, and you can do that at the Convention of States website. But there's another way that you can donate in a very easy way. If you're an Amazon.com customer, you can go to smile.amazon.com, and that's the charitable side of the Amazon website. And what Amazon allows you to do is designate a charity as a recipient for a donation for every dollar that you spend with Amazon.com. So all you need to do is go to smile.amazon.com and search for Citizens for Self-Governance and select that charity as the recipient of a donation from Amazon.com with every order that you place. So I've given you a list of 3 or 4 things here that you can do that take very little time, and they're transactional. They're one and done. You do one thing and you've expressed your support in a very meaningful way for the Convention of States project. But let's say you want to take it up a notch, and instead of committing just to a transaction with us, you're at the point where you can commit to some time dedicated to the Convention of States project. One of the first things that you can do is invest some time in learning about Convention of States. And the best place to do this is at the Convention of States website, and you just click on the Learn button, and you can have access to all kinds of material to deepen your knowledge about Article 5 and the Constitution. Now, there's also another thing that I would highly recommend if you want to learn some more, and this simply takes a half hour of your time. The Convention of States puts on a weekly web conference every Tuesday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's an introduction to the Convention of States project. I will include in the show notes a link where you can click to register for the next video conference. And in that web conference, you'll get a quick half-hour introduction to the Convention of States project. It is actually a great place to start. And then, if you're ready to join us as a volunteer, we would love to have you. We currently have roughly 62,800 volunteers on our rolls today. And volunteering can be as little or as much time as you have to spend on the project. There are volunteer teams that you can join. We have need for social media warriors. So if Facebook or Twitter are your thing, we can certainly use those skills. We also have a need for videographers and creative writers and people who are willing just to follow up with volunteers and stay in contact with them. There are a lot of ways to get involved with a very small time commitment. Now, as I mentioned when I talked about petitions, we are organized by state legislative districts. And once you sign the petition, you will be assigned a point person who is typically going to be a district captain. And the district captain is a volunteer for your legislative district who's going to be a point person for any of our supporters in that district. And by contacting your district captain, you can volunteer for some one-time things like making a call to your state legislator or sending them an email or a mail or a letter. Uh, or you can write a letter to the editor. These are a lot of things, again, that don't take a lot of time commitment, but we certainly could use your help with these activities. So far, I've shared with you opportunities for you to interact with us in a transaction mode, very small time commitments, but high impact. And then some other things that require a commitment of some discrete amounts of time, but not too much. But finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the opportunity to really step up and become a leader within the Convention of States project. And that involves committing to some outcomes, which could take quite a bit of time, but that may be the right thing for you. You could be a district captain, that main point of contact for our volunteers in your legislative district. We have a need for coalitions directors. We have many different coalitions, such as veterans and gun owners and so on, for Convention of States. You could even volunteer to be a legislative liaison. We need volunteers who spend their time contacting legislators and keeping them in the loop. We have positions for state media liaisons or state technical assistants or grassroots coordinators. The need is endless. And my whole point here is you can get involved as little or as much as your desire and your schedule allows. And we would love to have you aboard on the Convention of States project. So, what's important for you to realize is that the Convention of States project is a grassroots, bottom up led organization. We are not top down driven. And that's why the grassroots individuals like you are so important to this movement, and why I've posed the question, what are you going to do about it? Now, I know I've laid out a lot of options for you here in this short amount of time in a podcast, but I've included extensive links in the show notes to your next step for answering that question of what are you going to do about it. And I would encourage you to take some time and simply take a look at that. And if I could ask you to please commit to at least one thing here, and that is to go to the webpage and sign the petition. And then take a look at some of the other options and figure out where you fit in to determine what you are going to do to advance the Convention of States project. This is the Free to Be Free podcast. I'm Paul Phillips. The opinions expressed are my own. You can learn more about the Convention of States project at conventionofstates.com. You can also find the Convention of States project on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. The first thing that you'll want to do at conventionofstates.com is to learn the issue for yourself. Then you'll want to sign the petition to let your state legislators know that you are ready to assert your liberty through an Article 5 Convention of the States. Until next time, stay free, my friends.